being an entrepreneur can be bloody lonely, right?
Actually, like finswimming in general is quite lonely sport. And I only realized it after, because you're just yourself in the water and there's no team around you. Yeah, at 6 and then 6:30 you're in the swimming pool and then until 7:30. And then 5 days a week plus weekends we had competition. So because it was like local competition sometimes Baltic competitions, sometimes we were going to world championships. And I'm still actually to this day holding a Lithuanian record.
You are an entrepreneur. You are a founder. You're a bloody, you're all of those things.
Now I bootstrapped this business fully. I started with 2,000 euros in my bank account, and now I'm doing 10K MRR, 60K MRR I want to achieve by the end of next year. What we are doing is we're integrating AI systems into the sales processes of tech startups and help them get more leads without manual effort.
In the studio today with me, I have got Gabija Adele. She is a 25-year-old founder and CEO of capitalboost.io, which is an AI-powered sales system. We're going to talk more about that later on, but she was born in Lithuania, and her parents were highly successful professionals themselves, which can often lead children's behavior to become somewhat entitled, but not Gabby. At 5 years of age, she began swimming, and her competitive nature, and you're gonna get a real sense for that when we start to talk to Gabby more, and her drive meant that she started to swim daily. She often had early morning starts. She had rigorous routines, which then at the ages of 10 to 14, she swam for the Lithuanian national team and became a 5 times Lithuanian champion, mastering the discipline of underwater sport. She'll tell you a little bit more about that. She quit that at the age of 17 and studied for a short period of time in Cambridge, but felt that actually education wasn't that important when she sort of progressed onto other routes of deeper education. At 19, she got a job with Philip Morris International and started selling cigarettes. She, at 21, started her own business and then moved to the Netherlands. She set up a digital marketing agency. That didn't quite work out, but it didn't sort of, deter Gabby. She kept pressing on. She went into, another employed role with Ernst & Young and learnt valuable lessons in the corporate environment, but again, didn't feel quite settled. She moved to Italy. She now lives in Prague. And you're probably listening to this going, how old is she? I think I already told you previously, but she's 25 years of age. She's a phenomenal young woman, really driven, really focused, really smart. And I like this as well. Away from her hectic business life, which it is hectic. I've struggled to get time on calendar with Gabby, but we've carved this out. She's also a yoga enthusiast, a tennis player. She is a painter. She's a ballerina, and she strongly believes in balancing the creativity side of her with business. Gabby, I hope that introduction, and you were laughing off camera, you were having a little chuckle because it's like, it's sometimes a bit embarrassing to hear about yourself, but I know you're taking all that in your stride. Welcome to So What's Your Story, and thank you for joining me in the studio today. It's a real pleasure to have you with me, but what a phenomenal life so far, and you're so young. Oh, the thing I forgot to mention was you've got aspirations to be recognized as Forbes, what is it, top 30 under 30. Yeah.
Thank you so much for introduction. It's super nice to hear that in the early morning. It's kind of motivation boost. Thank you. Super excited to be here, Ian, and super excited to walk through and inspire some people as well during our time here today.
And I think it's interesting because my guests are, varied varied professions, ages, and stories. And this is nice to have you on. We had Charlie Michael Baker, 17 years of age. What an inspiration he is to everybody. You're 25 years of age. And I think it's actually not relevant, the age thing, because what we're going to talk about, hopefully, is how you weave this desire, this passion of yours. And also, I'm really interested in this piece early on of, well, education's not that important to me. So this is going to be your story, Gabby, as you know. I would like to start with growing up in your parents and the influence or not that they had on you. Is that okay to start there? And then also sort of growing up in Lithuania, what was it like in that country at that time? Can you share that with us? It seems a good place to start, yeah?
Sure. Yes. So I was born in Lithuania. I grew up there until I was 18. And it was quite interesting growing up there, especially as you mentioned, like my parents were and still are very successful business people. My mother is in corporate. My dad started his own business now after 27 years in corporate. And growing up with them, of course, coming back home sometimes and being like, okay, where's mom or where is dad? Because they were always traveling to different places, for business trips. And it felt like they were a little absent at the time.
Okay.
However, every time we were having dinner or the discipline would come, like we will touch upon that in swimming, they would talk about business a lot next to the morning table for breakfast, next to like dinner, and always like, I learned these terms so early on in age, like, macroeconomics, inflation, like euro implementation and things like that. And because we implemented euro in Lithuania in 2015, and my mom was like almost leading this entire transformation in the bank at the time. So I was like hearing all of this while I was super young, and I hated it, to be honest. It's not like I loved
that was
it.
That was going to be my question. Did you sit with interest, or you were like, well, please shut up about this? It's like,
I mean, I kind of had to, like I was there, so I was like all the time sitting and listening. And it's not like I chose it, yeah. I mean, I hated at some points, but now I see how much impact it had today. Because I wouldn't say like I am at 25 years of age and I learned everything myself. Like definitely my parents had a big impact on how I'm behaving in business or how I am and so on. And I think for everyone it's like that, right? Like parents have like big influence on you. But growing up in Lithuania at the time, I don't know how is it to grow up in other countries, like I grew up in Lithuania. So all my foundation is laid there. But school systems were and still are very strict. I think it's this post-Soviet Union kind of strength in terms of teachers, shouting at you, putting you down. You always need to stand up when you want to speak. It was like very, very strict environment. And I changed 4 schools throughout, like until I graduated, right? So it was quite interesting in that area.
And how did that feel to you, Gabby? Was that sort of, did you get comfortable with that, or was sometimes it did feel a little bit oppressive, or did it bring out this fighter in you that well, I am going to be the best, or how did it work for you?
To be honest, I'm going to tell you like a specific story that I really remember super vividly. I think I was like in 8th grade or 9th. And
so what age were you there?
It was 14, 15, something like that.
Yeah.
And my chemistry teacher, she was super, super strict, and I am the worst in chemistry. Like this is just like not an area for me. I don't understand it at all. And we always had like this clashing a little bit. And I remember I left and we had this getting into a new school. You had to take exams and so on and so on. And I said that I want to go to the best school in Lithuania. Like, and you have really, really strong exams to get there. And she heard that. And when I left the classroom, she said to everyone but me, Gabby, she will never get in there. Like, such a like putting down and in front of others. And I remember it super vividly. And of course, I went and cried. Well, I was a little girl.
Sure.
But now I'm thinking about it, it's quite cruel, right? Like no empowerment, nothing. You feel suppressed, like some old teachers talking to you like that. And there are, of course, a lot of instances where teachers were very strict. And I think it's this post-Soviet culture.
Sure. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I know that you and I spoke off air, and there's a part of you now that if somebody says to you that can't be done, there's a big part of you that wants to prove that wrong to a degree, and sort of or is proving it wrong. So it's funny how these instances maybe subconsciously drill into us. Well, I'm going to show you differently. You know what I mean? But as you say, at the time, 14-year-old kid being publicly, lambasted and put down to your friends, and, awful behavior. But you were a resilient kid. You started swimming at a very young age. And, I said this in the bio, in the intro, you had at times a really rigid training regime. And of course you went on to be, holding sort of Lithuanian champion titles. But again, Gabby, help us with that piece, because you're still incredibly young at this piece, aren't you? You're sort of like, you started swimming at 5, and then you realize that you've got a real skill set in a certain discipline. What was that discipline, and how old were you, and how did it feel to be under these very rigid training regimes, which you had to be to become the best? Did you enjoy it? Was it at times, was it a little bit, I'm not again, but, how was that?
Yeah, so swimming was indeed a very, very big part of my life. I swam quite, I don't know, like, was it 15 years or something more? So I started swimming when I was 5, and I went to normal swimming. And then my trainer spotted me, which was finswimming coach. And she was like, you probably would do good in finswimming. So
what's finswimming?
Yeah, finswimming. So imagine a mermaid.
Okay, so it literally is having a fin fitted to attach to your feet. Yeah. Yes. And I started training a little bit more, like not super professional in the beginning, and I was good at it. Like it just fitted me, right? I was under the water. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was also kind of a way of release stress at some point. But the trainings that we had when I moved to more professional training was super intense. It was also quite strict. Early mornings, evenings after school, and then you come back home and you're super tired. But the regime was, in the morning 1 hour, in the evening 2 hours. So 3 hours a day you're underwater. And actually, like, swimming in general is quite a lonely sport. And I only realized it after, because you're just yourself in the water and there's no team around you. Of course, you have your friends there that you're swimming with in the same trainings, but it's quite lonely because it depends everything on you. And discipline had such a big impact. And I'm not saying I was super disciplined at my own age. It was not like I was just wanted to go to these trainings. I hated it. But I'm glad that I had my coach and I had my dad who was pushing me at the hard times. I wanted to quit a million times. I wanted to quit it. It was so hard. My legs were cramping, it just all the time. What time were you having to get up to get into your morning session routines? Because presumably that was before school, right?
Yeah, at 6, and then 6:30 you're in the swimming pool, and then until 7:30, and then.
So you're up you're up before 6 to get your stuff. Wow, and then you're doing your full schooling, and then training afterwards as well. And you were doing this pretty much every day, right?
Yeah, 5 days a week plus weekends. We had competition. So because it was local competition, sometimes Baltic competitions, sometimes we were going to world championships. And I'm still actually to this day holding a Lithuanian record.
Are you?
Which is
Are you?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Whoa.
Yeah.
Do you keep an eye on it? Has anybody ever got close to you to take
I
it?
keep an eye on it.
Well, I mean, again, it's great, you know, and you hear of like child prodigies and, you know, people's who's, you know, when you watch the now famous King Richard documentary on Netflix, where, you know, the Venus sisters were pushed by their dad, but there was always this inner in both of them that they knew they had it. And do you think that, you know, part of those traits where you are now in your life, do you reflect back and think, yeah, do you know what, actually, I did learn or still have traits of discipline, determination, hard work. And let's also include being an entrepreneur can be bloody lonely, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I think I have more like a determination to achieve a specific goal that I set to myself. And that definitely comes from swimming. And I want to be the best. And I'm super competitive.
Yeah, no kidding, right? No kidding.
I'm not like in a bad way, you know, I always wish like good for people, but it's for me like this inner drive to achieve.
Yeah.
And when I already know what it feels like to achieve and like have the gold medal here and you're standing and you're like fucking proud that you did it. Yeah. Like, that's what I want to do in business. I want to leave a mark in business, and I will. So for me, it's this that had a lot of influence. Discipline for sure. I mean, you have to be disciplined in order to achieve something. And there are, of course, days where I feel like, you know, everything is going wrong. Sure. Sales not going, or you're sometimes doubting yourself. But I've heard this saying that you cannot quit when you are in your low. You can only quit when you're in your high. It's true. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's so many famous quotes around this, but yeah, no, it's one amongst many, very, very true. Yeah. You know, so let's talk about then, you know, obviously, I mean, that was phenomenal for you. You did and still hold a record, which is, you know, no one can take that away from you, you know, and they can't take away your achievements ever. But you then, you know, your parents sent you over to the UK, didn't they? They sent you over to Cambridge for a summer academic school, and particularly to enhance your knowledge of English. But in your own words, you quoted to me outside of studio, I really felt that education wasn't that important. Right. So, yes, they sent me to Cambridge. They sent me to multiple summer schools in England to learn English. And that was when I was 12. Then I was 14. They again sent me. I was 16. They again sent me. 17 again they sent me.
They kept trying, didn't they? They kept trying with you. Oh, and by the way, your English is superb. So, I mean, it did rub off somewhere along the lines, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was, English definitely. I learned it. And of course, in the studies later on, when I was studying in the Netherlands, and also I finished school at Cambridge International examinations the last couple of years. But what was most traumatic experience in that in going to this Cambridge was that I was 12 and I didn't know how to speak English.
Well, this is something I want to talk to you about, because you know the education piece we can talk about that, but you've traveled in your very, very, you know, early age. You've traveled to England, Italy, the Netherlands. You're currently in Prague. I know you've done other places as well, but this isn't just to go on a little holiday and sit around the pool. This is where you've lived. And so at a very, very young age, as you're going to tell us more now, you know, at a very young age, you're sent into a foreign country. And look, you know, I'm English, so I'm going to say England's lovely and Cambridge is lovely. But how daunting would that be at the age of 12 that you can't speak the language and you're there?
Yes, and it's very daunting, and you feel so alone because other guys and girls there, they had, like, if you're Spanish, there were more Spanish people they could talk with. If you're Italian, there were more Italian people they could talk with in their own language.
Yep.
And I was the only Lithuanian there.
Wow.
I didn't know how to start speaking with anyone. And my mom is really tough. Like, she's very tough. And I remember calling her and I was like, Mom, I want to go home. This is like, send me back. Like, I don't feel comfortable, and so on and so on, as you can imagine. She was like, no, you're staying. Like, we paid for it. But coming back to all of these, like, living in different countries, and I feel like I have this urge to always go outside of my comfort zone, because that's the only way I'm growing. And when I feel too comfortable in one place, I just become lazy. Like, I have this feeling that I'm like, I need more and more and more. Now I love living in Prague, and I will live here for now because I want to focus more on the business. But in the previous countries that I worked and launched businesses, it was, of course, difficult moments, because I don't think a lot of people understand how hard it is to create your life every single time you move into a new country. You don't have people there. You don't have friends there. You don't have girlfriends there. That I have all my girlfriends are on my phone. Like, we are FaceTiming. And I'm so genuinely tired of starting creating all the life over and over again, that now I'm thinking I just want to be in one place for now. But definitely, like, all of the experiences I had were influential to me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I believe, richness can come from travel, experiencing different cultures, understanding and respecting those cultures, even down to cuisine and all sorts of things. I think it gives us a much more rich tapestry of life, and just sort of in your soul as well. You're seeing different things, you're experiencing different things, but you were doing this and still do at a young age. And it's interesting what you said there as well, Gabby, about, having to, some people just overlook this, but going to, and I know most of your things have been within Europe, but, even going into those places, you've got to think about things like banking, and your health insurance, and if it's needed, and, accommodation, and networking against, friends. For you, business communities become much smaller now through the power of things like LinkedIn and everything else that we have going on, but it's still, networking in a local community is a challenge. And at the age of 25, you've done this notably 4 times, I'm counting. So it is to be admired, but also, people who think it's a romantic notion of, oh, I'm going to live here now, I'm going to live there now. There are challenges, aren't there?
Yeah, a lot of challenges. I love it on one end, but on the other end, as I already mentioned, it's daunting. Like, I now more or less know the shortcuts of how to network, where to find places. Of course, we have internet, so you can Google. In Prague, I have an unfair advantage because my partner is from Czech Republic, so he's helping me with all these banking things and insurance and so on. Sure. But still, also, you are all the time in different place. So let's say in the Netherlands, everyone spoke Dutch. They like to speak Dutch. Obviously, it's their own language. Czech Republic, they speak in Czech. In Italy, in Italian. And every time you're like, oh my God, now I have to like a little bit learn some other words. And now already they are mixing up because I fluently speak Dutch. I fluently speak Italian. And I'm like, okay, now I need to like start learning. Because people are more receptive when you speak their language.
No,
and
I know. Of course it helps, and if you need anything like, hopefully not, but if you needed any repairs or something like that around the house, or people overlook these things, Gabby, let's just go back to this piece about you not being actually too too favored by education. It wasn't a thing for you, really. I mean, in your own words, you sort of felt that education wasn't that important. So help us with that, the reasons why you felt that, but also what was taking your mind, where was your mind going? Because we're now sort of touching around the 18, 19 years of age. I know that you did land a job with Philip Morris International selling cigarettes. I want to talk to you about that. Not deep dive, but just, what you feel about sales as a profession. Is there a misconception, et cetera, et cetera. But just going back to this point about education, why did you feel that it wasn't that important to go and university degree and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Because it's very evident you're a free spirit. I mean, I'm sure the listeners are establishing that in their own mind right now as well, but you're really smart. You're really, really smart. Some people think you need to have the education to achieve things in life. There is a lot of entrepreneurs who famously dropped out of university and don't really have a lot of very, very astute entrepreneurs who are dyslexic. A lot of, who can't read and write. And they've done incredibly well. What was it for you that was saying education isn't that important?
Yeah. I'm probably going to receive a lot of hate for this, but I think university degree is to show your potential employer that you went to one place 4 years, let's say, and you're probably not going to fuck up his business because you're going to show up there and do something.
I like that. My friend here in Cheshire, I'm sure he won't mind me shouting him out, Jim Whitty. He helps and coaches and mentors young people going through university, and he gave a classic example of working with a young person and saying, how important do you think your degree is going to be to, I think it was Merrill Lynch or somebody like that. And he said, well, of course it is. It's going to be amazing. And he said, there's probably 1,000 people behind you with that same degree. What's going to differentiate you? And when he works with people, it's really to explain that, work experience, proven track record. And more employees are not, of course, the degree in certain professions is critical. But in many, it isn't as big a deal as perhaps we're being led to believe. And in fact, there's a trend now, isn't there, where more students are grasping opportunities where companies will give them the chance to get in and start actually being amongst the weeds is my term, but actually, learning their craft in employment whilst completing their education as well. So you've got this multifaceted approach. And I think, if I've heard you right, you're alluding to the fact that it shows you've completed a process and a discipline, but not actually that much else.
Yes, that's true. I mean, I have people now applying to my opening job roles who have an MBA.
Okay. Impressive.
What I want to touch upon, I think education is important.
So do I.
Important in a sense that you always have to continually keep learning. But you need to find your own way how to learn, right? Like if you are struggling with a specific, and I'm talking about business here. I'm not talking about medicine or lawyers or business specifically. You have to understand key trends, right? Like if you don't understand accounting, you're already behind of the game. You have to understand some basic fundamentals there is to do in business. When it comes to sales, to marketing, to different types of these more commercial roles, you also need to know what's happening in the market. I constantly keep myself updated through books, reading books, through YouTube videos, through my own due diligence, reading McKinsey white papers to understand like what's happening right now to keep yourself competitive, right? In that sense, and help to give the best offer for the clients in my case. Now, when it comes to, and I worked in corporates and I worked at a big four and other firms as well. What I didn't like is that there was always a manager who kept telling me what to do. And I always knew that like maybe there is more efficient way to do it or maybe more better way, and that everybody should build on their own strengths rather than just put in a one role and just like being in it. I learned most of my craft and most about business through experience in other companies and through experience of doing business myself. That was the most I've learned, because you get and you grasp the real industry, like how is everything working. You cannot like learn fully from the books. It's passive learning. When you actually apply it, that's when you learn. Yeah. So I'm saying education is important, but I'm not saying, I mean, if you have a discipline to learn a craft yourself, good for you, right? But if you don't, and you need fundamentals, it's probably good to go to university. And it depends from your personality, and you have to be quite like reflective on that. But yeah, I don't particularly say that universities had a big impact for what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And, you know, just to be clear, listeners, this is personal perspectives from Gabby and myself. We are, we are saying education has its place, and in certain professions, it's very, very critical. But there is nothing to stop you. And, you can listen through my back catalogue to some of my previous guests. You will realize that a lot of these people have achieved exponential success and with very little education. And it isn't impossible. Do not think, if you're listening, if you're young, middle-aged, wherever you are in your life right now, that because you don't have this piece of paper that certifies you qualified to do something that you can't achieve. You can. You can. And Gabby's living proof of that. Gabby's mindset is what differentiates her, more than a degree and this and that and everything else. But Gabby, let's go back to Philip Morris International. I hope they don't mind us giving a little shout. You're not going to say anything bad about them. I know you had a good time there. But you started selling cigarettes. Interesting, great company. Regardless of what your thoughts are on smoking, that's irrelevant. Really successful company, international, global. But what was your thoughts on going into a sales role? What's your thoughts on sales as a profession? Because some people, say, oh, salesman, well, can't be trusted, this and that. And, there's these perceptions around sales. I think it's a beautiful profession. I think if you actually think about it, nothing moves in the world without sales. Nothing. Nothing. This pen I'm using right now, somebody sold it. This laptop that I'm sitting in front of, somebody sold it. This technology that's supporting what you and I are doing right now, somebody originally, not only they had the idea, but then somebody had to sell it. The microphone I'm using, we could go on and on. The sweater I'm using, wearing, etc. So sales is everything. Without sales, there is nothing. But what's your perception? What was your experience of going into a sales role, and what is your perception of sales, Gabby?
I love sales. I love that.
There we go.
I mean, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you understand that you can have the best product, the most innovative idea. But if it's not selling, you're behind of the game, right? Like you lose everything. So I like to help people, especially I work with AI and SaaS startups, and I like to get their product in front of the right buyers, right? So they could actually continue innovating. But that's another part. Okay, so let me a little bit circle back. I got a job in Philip Morris International selling cigarettes. It was my first like real job, where I was like normally paid. And I remember walking in the Netherlands with my printed 100 CVs and going into the stores and giving my CVs out because I needed money. My dad cut me off when I was 20. So he already told me, like, you have to make money and you need to figure out.
Wow. Wow. So again, looping back to this, what I said in this start, when, some kids' behavior becomes entitled, you weren't bankrolled. You were like, bump, that's it, Gabby. I've supported you up to you now. You're on your, not literally on your own, but he's not flooding you with money, which he could have. Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. And that was also, and I'm super grateful for that, because that gave me like real industry experience and like real taste of life. So anyway, so I printed all my CDs and I went through all the retail stores because like that's probably what's the only job I could get at the time, right? Yep. I didn't have experience, degree, nothing. So I just went, distributed, and Philip Morris reached out to me. They liked my CV. And I just started working there without like really thinking it through, right? I just needed money. And then the way they approached sales was amazing. Really amazing. Like the entire customer experience. I remember having a training where they actually had a camera next to their chest. They were filming us. And we had to do this entire trial of when they come. It was IQOS that I was selling, IQOS cigarettes. Wow. And the customer would come into the store, and we would need to, do this role playing. Oh, wow.
And then we analyzed, how was your body language? Are you smiling? How are you greeting? Like all of these kind of things. And I was like, damn, that's incredible. So the entire sales from that end, and how to introduce the products, how to ask the right questions. To be honest, this first job of mine had a really big foundation of even how I approach sales now. So, and I worked there full-time in the beginning, part-time, then full-time, then again part-time. And at the end, I think it was around 3 years that I worked there, sometimes during the weekends. And then I was juggling between 2 jobs. I was creating my own business and working for Philip Morris. So it was that job, I would come back there.
Yeah, did you hear that, Philip Morris? Did you hear that, Philip Morris? She wants to come back. Do you know what I love about what you just said then? And having sold myself for, over 3 decades. Well, actually, I started selling when I was 14 years of age. Can you believe that? But, what I love about what you've said there is they did a good job, because they showed you that there is a lot to sales. There is a lot to a sales process. It isn't just a case of, here's 20 cigarettes, do you want to buy them? It's not at all. And Philip Morris would have known that they've got British American Tobacco, they've got they've got a lot of competitors on that shelf in that store trying to sell cigarettes. What makes that retailer want to buy from you? And they've given you the whole process, the approach, the body language, the questions, the rapport, the relationship building, the trust, the maybe a little bit of humor in there as well, because we're all humans. Yeah. We're all human, right? So, I mean, this is, real fundamental skill sets of sales. And I love the fact that you've said, I loved it. I loved it. And I still use some of those things that I was taught all those years ago today. They stuck with you. because that was brilliant training in a profession. And I'm going to use that word, and I will always use that word when I talk about sales. It is a profession which, done right, you can achieve anything.
Yes, 100%. I still to this day apply all of the trainings that Philip Morris did, asking the right questions, being nice, and how to handle like different situations and so on. Yeah, but sales sometimes gets overlooked for sure, but not in my world.
Gabby, you sort of, you said you've worked for other big companies. I know you worked for Ernst Young, and and again, many lessons for you there. You enjoyed your time and everything else, but there was this burning desire inside of you to do something for yourself. We laughed in our pre sort of chat with each other that you started a business and you were selling. It was a business that corrected posture, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And this was your first dip into, I know you've done other little things, but this was your first dip into real entrepreneurialism, buying a product and trying to sell it. You then sort of dipped in and out of digital marketing, and there was various things, and you're smiling. For the listeners who are just listening to this on audio, Gabby's smiling right now because I know you don't regret any of that. And let's be honest, they didn't succeed. But what lessons were you learning on this journey that's got you to where you are now, where you've got an amazing, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this Capital Boost.io that you have right now, which is an AI powered sales system. But what was going on with you during these startup phases, these I don't like the word failure, but they weren't successful. Let's not bullshit, right? So what was going on with you to keep you inspired as an entrepreneur to go again? And what lessons were you learning along the journey?
Yeah, so with my first business, yes, indeed, I was selling posture correctors. I ordered them from China, and I was selling it into the DACH region. And I branded everything myself, and it was quite interesting. I had to wait so long for them to arrive, but I didn't believe in the product that much because I wouldn't have bought it myself. Like the mistake that I didn't order enough the trial. The trial ones to really test it out, and I just ordered it in bulk, which was my first mistake that I did. I ordered in bulk 5,000 of them. And 2,500 I sold literally packing, like B2C. And it was through my website and through bol.com. Bol.com is like a DACH Amazon. So I uploaded it there. And then I was so tired of packing them that I had to sell it in bulk. So I just sold the rest to the pharmacy. They bought it from me. And it was my first B2B sale. But the thing is that I didn't go in profit. I kind of went equal. So it was a learning, but I didn't make any profit out of it, right? It was just some hobby. And then I knew already by then that I loved it, because the first sale that I did online, I cannot describe you the feeling. I was sleeping, and then the morning I wake up and I'm like, 2 sales, like someone bought 2 posture correctors, and I was like, it's 80 euros, like just through my sleep, kind of. I loved it. So I was like, let's do it, So
the interesting thing that you said there, which you've learned lessons. So but the interesting thing you said straight off the bat was, it was a posture corrector. It wasn't a passion of mine. No. And I know we're going to talk about this because, interestingly, where you're at right now, and you're working on another project right now, you describe yourself as being in the zone of very passionate about what you do right now.
Yeah.
That's important, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%. You have to be passionate about what you pursue business in, because it takes so much of your time. It takes so much of your effort. I constantly think about Capital Boost, because you want to make it better. You want to offer more product. You need to change strategy. And I'm a solopreneur. So it's not like I have a lot of minds to bounce off my ideas. I mean, I do have, but not like full on in the business, right? So definitely you have to pursue something you love and you know you are at least good at, or you know that you can continuously learn about it.
Yeah.
Which for me, this is really important now in Capital Boost. And I had my other business, which was Breeze Marketing Agency. And I was too greedy. I had a couple of leads there that I could have sold to. But I said 15,000 for my first customer, like 15,000 a month. And that was super, super bad strategy that I had. I was too greedy in that sense. And I had to close it down.
I think there's a bit of greed, perhaps a bit of naivety, maybe. You're seeing digital marketing as perhaps a cash cow. It is known that, a lot of digital marketing companies do make good money. We can all read about the highlighted people in the business world. But yeah, I think what I hear there, Gabby, is there was a bit of greed set in your own words, a bit of naivety, perhaps. But then also the authenticity and the genuine look in the mirror to say, okay, didn't work out. What are the lessons? Why didn't it work out? And then you build from that. So you're building all the time. You're building, resilience. You're building skill sets. But you're also building knowledge and also personal growth to say, all right, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to pull this right back to your swimming, oddly enough, because there must have been times where you were competing and you were, in your own words, sometimes you didn't even want to go training. But you had this resilience, and when you did break through and win, amazing, pure elation. But of course, you didn't win every single time, did you?
Yeah, no.
So in your entrepreneurial world, you're not always winning. Sometimes there's setbacks. Sometimes you have to pivot, change direction. In these early businesses you launched, yeah, they didn't. Now, a lot of people, particularly, as you're maturing in business, would say, oh, well, I'm obviously not an entrepreneur. I'm just going to get a regular job then. You didn't, did you? You kept going. And I love that about you. I think it's so, admirable and inspiring. So let's go to the gear shift to where we are now then, because you've launched an amazing business. You're working on something else, I know, but you can share that with us or not. It's up to you. But let's drill down on where you're at now, because funnily enough, you said you love sales, and this is a system which can help sales. It can, I'm going to highlight this, but it's 30% more leads with 50% less manual effort. You talk about being a solopreneur, and I like the fact that you've not said I'm a female entrepreneur, because I hate that. It shouldn't matter what gender you are. You are an entrepreneur. That's it. You are a founder. You're not a female founder. You're not a female entrepreneur. You're a bloody, you're all of those things. Yeah. What's got you to where you're at now, Gabby? And what are you still continuously learning? And where do you want to take this business, and where do you see it going? And share with us some successes as well.
Yeah. So Capital Boost started in February 2024, after I moved here to Prague. And the business model have shifted over the course of, what is it now, nine months or so.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I was offering help for startups to get capital. And I understood that startups don't have the money to pay for such a service because they do need capital, right? So I shifted my model. Then Capital Boost became a sales agency to get leads. I saw potential elsewhere, and I again shifted my business model, and I continue to shift, and I'm sure it's going to shift still because it's such an early baby, and you have to make pivots, right? So now what we are doing is we're integrating AI systems into the sales processes of tech startups and help them get more leads without manual effort, right? And this is my passion because I was in business development and sales before, and I know how all this business works, right? And now with all these recent developments in AI and technology, there are already so many tools that so many people don't know. And now they are my partners as well. And we implement those tools, which are fundamental to success. You can reach so much more leads without everything is personalized. And I think it's stupid if you don't use AI in your current business processes, right? So that's how we are now. Now I bootstrapped this business fully. I didn't get any investment or anything. And I started with 2,000 euros in my bank account. And now I'm doing 10K MRR, which is, I think, quite fine. I think
it's very good. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. I have goals, and I always write my goals down because it's super important for me. 60K MRR I want to achieve by the end of next year. So now I'm building systems and
just help with that terminology a second there for any listener that's not understanding what you're saying right now. 10K to 60K MRR. Just give us what that means. What does it mean?
Yeah, monthly reoccurring revenue.
Okay, there you go. Just for anybody going, what's an MRR? I don't get that. I know what it is, but just wanted to clarify that. So you're going to go from now, so 10K to 60K, and then of course there's build from that and everything else. I like the fact that you write down your goals. It's interesting, isn't it? We can all think of things, but again, if we're not tracking ourselves and writing them down and seeing where the business is right now. And again, Gabby, you talk about this sometimes lonely life. I know you've got great people around you. You spoke about your partner, your boyfriend, he supports you and everything else. But you are still very much in this startup phase. You spoke about pivoting, very, very important. Things shift, markets shift, demand shift. You learn yourself and you adapt and you flex and everything else. But it is proven you are successful. You are helping businesses, and any business that isn't focused on new clients, boy, oh boy, watch out, because, clients there's natural attrition. People, clients fall away. You lose clients for no fault of your own. Sometimes the competitors get ahead of you. Sometimes you just go somewhere else. Sometimes they go bust, whatever. Yeah. But you need new life coming into the business. And what you're helping companies do again, is through the use of AI, and what you've developed and what you've also partnered with other companies and, the technology that's there, you've embraced it. They can get 30% more leads with 50% less manual effort. Now that is gold dust. It really is. Yeah. Why do you do what you do then, Gabby? Why do you enjoy entrepreneurialism? Why do you enjoy this, often, let's not bullshit again, often very, very stressful times. You spoke about you like the challenge of moving into new countries. It's clearly in you. You've got this in you, in your DNA. You love it. But why do you do what you do, and what do you hope the future will bring for you?
Freedom.
Okay.
Freedom.
Freedom what? Freedom what? And I know people talk about financial freedom, but what does that mean to you? Is it choice? Is it what does it mean?
For me, freedom is if I want to go to the gym at 3 p.m., I go to the gym at 3 p.m. and nobody's telling me you cannot go because you're sitting in the office.
Yeah. Yeah.
That for me is freedom. If I want to eat lunch not at 12 but at 2, I go and I do that because I am in charge of my own schedule and nobody's telling me otherwise.
Let's flip that then, because I can't remember who wrote it, and that's bad of me, but I was replying to a post on LinkedIn just a couple of days ago. I'll bring it up whilst we're chatting. And he said that he's encouraging his team. No, let me get this right. A team member said, I'm going to go and work somewhere remotely for a few weeks, but don't worry, my productivity is still going to be where it should be, and I'm going to achieve what I'm asked to achieve because you're paying me. And as a CEO, he said, okay. That was his answer. That was his answer. Okay. Now, I also support that massively, because I think if you give people the freedom, in your words, to, unless they start to take the piss, and just don't show up or don't do anything, they're just holidaying, see it as a holiday. But I think that was a great modern, today's world leadership train of thought to say, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. And what you're alluding to here, Gabby, is freedom. And I know that as your business grows, I'm sure you will have that mindset with your team. Yeah. It's important, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, 100% there is still extent to, if you really trust your employees and they constantly deliver good work, sure, work for whatever you want. Like, we now live in the technology era, right? So, yeah. But for me, it's this, I don't like someone telling me what to do unless it's my clients. And still I make the rules there. And then the other part is that I don't want to work for someone to create their dream. I have my own dreams in terms of business.
Yeah. I agree with you. It was actually Nick Bradley. So there you go, a little shout for you, Nick.
I follow him as well, I think.
Yeah, he's quite cool, isn't he? Well, and what do you see? You know, I asked you why you do what you do. You said freedom. What do you see sort of in the short term and the long term, if you're able to share that with us, if you have that vision of where you would like things to evolve to? I know you spoke about being recognized as top 30 under 30 in Forbes. So it's a big thing for you, and I really do believe that you'll probably get there. But what's short term and longer term looking like, and how would you like it to look?
Short term is to make clients happy constantly and focus on client centricity, because without happy clients, there is no happy business, right? So that's my short term goal. Implement more systematic way of working for the future employees of Capital Boost. I want to scale this business to 1 million euros, not MARR. So let's hope that that's going to happen in a couple years time, free probably. I want to have a team of people that are currently inspired and want to, bring Capital Boost to bigger heights. And I also want to create another startup, which I'm currently building,
sure.
Which would be more not an agency, because there would be minimal human involvement, but it would be subscription based. So I'm currently working on Nopo, which is going to be like a LinkedIn robot, basically.
Nice.
But let's see, it's still in the development stage.
Sure.
And I also need investment. So
hint, anybody listening. Gabby, I've really enjoyed this time with you. I think you're a really, really cool human being. I really do. And I love a lot of what you've spoken about. It would be very remiss of me to not ask you, before we wrap up, in your intro, I mentioned about that you are a yoga enthusiast. You play tennis. You are a ballerina. You are a painter. You massively believe in balancing creativity with your business. You are clearly an entrepreneur. No doubt about it. You are clearly have a great business brain, and I'm sure you work incredibly hard. But people listening to this who just kind of get one-dimensional and run the risk of burnout, how important is work-life balance?
Super important. There's no balance. If you're an entrepreneur, I don't believe there is a balance. You need to find time to do things in creativity or in sports to a little bit put you away from all the problems that you have. And that's why I am doing yoga, tennis, and going to the gym and painting sometimes, even to just step back and not think about your day-to-day problems. And sometimes, when you focus more on business or more on work, then work might dominate more, right? If you want to focus more on family, then you just shift to family. Like, I don't think there's a balance all the time. So if you need to work longer, you work longer. But again, I was also on a bit of an edge of a burnout sometimes. And then it's super important to recognize it in the early stage and be like, okay, let me go for a walk now. Let me get some fresh air. Let me relax. Let me meditate or do some sport which is not like connected to any business, and then come back and view everything with a fresh eyes. And also always ask for help if you are feeling that you are on the edge of the burnout. Like say, maybe I need someone to talk to.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Great advice. Thank you, Gabby. I know there's so many pearls of wisdom that you could share with us, but is there one thing that you would say to anybody, regardless of age or experience or academic qualifications, that is thinking right now of launching a business but has doubts? What's your advice?
Do it.
I love that. Nice and simple. We'll keep it there. Gabby, how do people find capitalboost.io? How can they reach out to you? What is the best way of supporting you? Just, I know we discovered each other through LinkedIn. You've got a strong presence on LinkedIn, but capitalboost.io, how can people find?
So, www.capitalboost.io or me, Gabija Adele, on LinkedIn. I'm every day active there. I'm super replying to everyone who reached out to me.
Okay.
And also I have an email, so gabija@capitalboost.io.
There you go. Alrighty. Well, I hope you've enjoyed your time in the studio with me as much as I've enjoyed spending this time with you, Gabby. I also hope that, I'm going to keep a close eye on you, and I think we're going to see you in that Forbes 30 under 30 before long. Take care. Yeah. I hope you have enjoyed yourself today, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me today. It was a pleasure.
See you soon.